Did the NFL gods just drop the ultimate gift right into the Chicago Bears' laps just weeks before the draft? Negotiations between superstar defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence and the New York Giants have completely collapsed, setting the stage for an absolute blockbuster trade. This is a massive, landscape-altering opportunity, and Ryan Poles needs to strike right this second before another team beats us to the punch. If you want to see this defense completely dominate the league again, do me a huge favor and smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe to the channel right now. Listen to me, Bears fans, we need to talk about what is unfolding right now because it is pure insanity. How often does a truly generational, game-wrecking defensive tackle just suddenly become available at the absolute peak of his career? I will answer that for you. It almost never happens. Elite interior disruptors are locked up, hidden away, and protected by franchises like the crown jewels. But right now, we are staring directly at a golden ticket. Last night, Ian Rapoport sent shockwaves through the entire league when he dropped a massive update, confirming that contract talks between Dexter Lawrence and the Giants have hit a brutal brick wall. The two sides are completely at an impasse. Rapoport made it crystal clear that the Giants are officially fielding trade calls. They are actively listening to offers from around the league to gauge his market value, and they want this situation resolved before the draft kicks off. If they hear an offer they like, they are going to pull the trigger and ship him out of town. But guys, it gets even crazier than that. Pat Leonard over at the New York Daily News came out this morning and said the situation is actually way more dire than a simple impasse. According to his sources, negotiations haven't just stalled, they have completely broken off. Dead in the water. The Giants have been quietly shopping him ever since he made a public trade request back on April 6. There is a very real, very undeniable possibility that the Giants are going to trade away one of the most dominant defensive forces in the entire National Football League. The current front office in New York clearly doesn't want to be strong-armed by a superstar inherited from the previous regime. They are digging their heels in, and that stubbornness is exactly the vulnerability that the Chicago Bears need to exploit right now. Let's talk about the money, because that is always the massive elephant in the room when we discuss blockbuster deals. According to league insiders, Lawrence is rightfully hunting for a monstrous payday, looking for a deal that eclipses $30 million a year. The gap between what sexy Dexy wants and what the Giants are willing to pay is reportedly as massive as $10 million annually. Now I know exactly what you are thinking. North of $30 million is an absolute fortune. Chris Jones is currently pacing the entire market at $32 million, so stepping into that territory makes you swallow hard. But here is the reality of the situation: you do not nickel and dime a unicorn. If they are $10 million apart, you swoop in, find that sweet spot, and bridge the gap. You hand him $28 million, maybe $29 million, structure the guaranteed money strategically so the front office retains flexibility, and you lock down the middle of your defensive line for the next half-decade. Question of the day for everyone watching right now: would you be willing to give up our 25th overall pick and pay Dexter Lawrence $28 million a year to anchor our defense? Get down in the comments right now and tell me your exact trade package, because I am genuinely dying to know where Bears Nation stands on this. If you are still on the fence about the money or the draft capital, let me completely change your mind by looking at what this absolute monster actually does on a football field. Dexter Lawrence is the most uniquely terrifying defensive tackle in the sport today, and I mean that in the highest complimentary way possible. We are talking about a true, pure-nosed tackle who somehow possesses the pass-rushing arsenal of a premier edge threat. The numbers are legitimately mind-blowing. Since 2022, when lined up as a nose tackle, Dexter Lawrence has accumulated an unbelievable 108 total pressures. To put that into perspective, the next closest player on that list is Vita Vea. Vita Vea is an incredible, dominant football player, and he only has 32 pressures from that alignment. Lawrence has more than tripled the production of the second-best guy. It is an outlier stat among outliers. Even guys like Andrew Billings, who has flashed greatness, only managed 15 pressures in that same span. People look at last year and say he had a down season because he only registered half a sack. Let me stop you right there. That narrative is completely exhausting and completely false. First of all, he was playing through the lingering effects of an off-season elbow surgery. Second of all, Do you have any idea what he was facing on every single snap? He was double-teamed on more than 70% of his pass rushes. Read that again. Over 2/3 of the time, opposing offensive coordinators had to sacrifice 2 grown men just to slow him down. He was even triple-teamed 7% of the time, which led the entire NFL. On only 23% of his snaps did he actually get a one-on-one matchup. Despite constantly fighting through 2 or 3 300-pound linemen, he still posted a 14% pass rush win rate. That is an elite, top-tier metric for any defensive tackle, let alone a 340-pound nose tackle. When you bring a guy like this into your locker room, you aren't just adding one great player, you are multiplying the talent of every single guy standing next to him. Look at Brian Burns in Carolina. When he was dealing with true interior threats, he flourished with a 16-sack season. Dexter Lawrence is a foundational multiplier. If you drop him onto our defensive line, the domino effect is going to be spectacular. Montez Sweat is a phenomenal edge rusher, but he has had to carry the burden of being our one true consistent threat. Put Lawrence in the middle demanding double teams, and suddenly Montez Sweat is living in one-on-one paradise. Jervin Dexter Sr. will have massive rushing lanes opened up for him. It will dramatically accelerate the development of a young, promising rusher like Austin Booker because offensive lines simply will not be able to slide protection their way. The advanced metrics absolutely prove this multiplier effect. When Dexter Lawrence is off the field, opposing quarterbacks average a comfortable 7.7 yards per attempt. When he steps onto the grass, that plummets to a flat 7 yards. The opponent's passing success rate drops from 48% down to 42%. The defensive sack rate jumps 2 full percentage points just by having his sheer gravity on the field. The overall pressure rate spikes from 29% to 36%. Ryan Poles talked about Montez Sweat being a multiplier when we traded for him, but Sweat is more of an elite individual contributor who helps a little. Dexter Lawrence is the ultimate tide that lifts all boats. He forces the pocket to collapse from the inside out, completely disrupting the quarterback's timing, which directly impacts the secondary. Your cornerbacks do not have to cover for 5 seconds anymore. It is a completely different game. Now, some fans are probably thinking we can just draft a defensive tackle and save the money. Absolutely not. Let me be brutally honest with you. This is a remarkably weak draft class for top-tier, game-changing defensive tackles. Sure, you can find rotational pieces on day 2 or early day 3. You can find a guy like Cade McDonald to stop the run, but he offers 0 pass rush upside. Caleb Banks has the physical profile, but he is a massive project with multiple foot injuries on his medical chart. There is absolutely no one in this draft class walking onto a field and doing what Dexter Lawrence does. He is 20 years old, turning 29 late in November. Defensive tackles age like fine wine in this league. Calais Campbell is still terrorizing offenses at 37. Chris Jones is dominating at 32. We have a massive, multi-year window of elite production waiting for us right now. So, what is the actual cost to bring him to the Windy City? I will tell you right now, I am completely out on sending 2 first-round draft picks. I said the exact same thing when we were discussing Max Crosby. You have to draw a line in the sand so you do not gut your future assets. But I would drive the 25th overall pick to the airport myself if it meant getting this deal done. Let's be real about the 25th pick. In this specific draft class, it holds the value of an early second-rounder. There might only be 15 true first-round graded talents available this year. Yes, you can hit a home run late in the first, but the dart throws get significantly harder. If the Giants want a clean break, I am offering that 25th overall pick package with something else. Give them the 25th pick and our third-rounder next year. Give them the 25th pick and pick number 89 this year. I would even strongly consider offering our first-round pick alongside Jervin Dexter Sr., who holds about 4th-round value but might be viewed higher by a coaching staff that wants young, controllable talent they can develop themselves. You make that trade, and you still have picks number 57 and 60 sitting in your pocket. You use those day 2 selections to grab an edge rusher like Danny Dennis Sutton or Derek Moore, and then you draft a safety with the other pick. You still build your roster while instantly fielding a top 3 defensive line in football. This is not an egregious overpay. This is the aggressive, calculated strike of a championship-caliber front office. opportunities to acquire a 340-pound wrecking ball who collapses the pocket, eats triple teams for breakfast, and transforms your entire defense just do not exist in the normal flow of the NFL calendar. Are we going to sit on our hands and watch him go to a rival, or are we going to make the move that builds the most feared defensive line in the NFC? If the New York Giants are foolish enough to let a contract dispute push Dexter Lawrence out the door, Ryan Poles needs to be on line one with an offer they cannot refuse. This is the move that turns a good defense into a legendary one. Period.